Hi, I'm Josh124 and this is a guide to speedrunning Yū Hakusho Dai-San-Dan Makai no Tobira. Apologies for the pronunciation there. It's the third Game Boy game based on the Yū Hakusho series. It's a beat 'em up RPG. A lot of the kind of ideas for routing on this I got from a Taz tool-assisted speedrun by Jalen2, so I'll link that in the YouTube description of this video. Right, so let's get started. Okay, so the game starts off in Yusuke's house, which you can return to at any time in the game to restore your health in your special meter. So for the first 30 seconds or so, this is just all text skipping. So all I'm doing there is hitting the A and B buttons, just not together, just in sort of a rhythm, not particularly fast either. On the Taz, this gets out of this room about 2 or 3 seconds quicker than this, so that gives an indication of what kind of perfect mashing can do on the text boxes. And so it's off to the school to start with. When text mashing within stages, I like to end the mashing with an attack, just in case the input kind of gets thrown over after the mashing. Then I'll just be standing there and attacking rather than trying to jump. So for this stage, it's just a case of running all the way through and hoping the enemies don't hit you. You can generally run through them. The Taz does try to manipulate them. You can try manipulating them by pressing up on the D-pad, but from experimentation I found that's not really viable for a kind of real-time speedrun. Note back there I jumped over the pee bottle. If I go back to that, so there's a number of different power-ups in the game that you can pick up, and that anything with a P on it is going to be increasing your health. There's that P bottle which increases your health to max, restores your health I guess more accurately. Then there'd be a small P square which just restores it a little bit. And there's also little kind of diamond looking things. The smaller diamond crystal will just restore your special meter a little bit, and the big diamond crystal will restore it to full. And then there's dummies. I think there's even a half dummy which kind of does a little bit on both your health and your special meter, but the full dummy restores both your health and special meter to full. And when you pick them up you get a small amount of invincibility as well. Right, so we've got the first boss fight coming up here against, let's see how I pronounce this, Kazuma. So for this boss fight, it's generally two approaches to boss fights. You can either do sort of a punch infinite, or you can use special attacks. We don't have great special attacks to start with in the game, so it's punch infinite time. So the idea is to do dash attacks on the enemy here, push him into the corner, and then try and punch infinite him. So when I say punch infinite, how that's done in this game, so like most beat 'em ups, if you just stand next to the enemy and keep punching them, eventually you'll knock them down. You'll kind of go through a combo sequence which will end with them getting knocked down, and that tends to waste time because then they're down on the ground and can't take any damage. So instead you can do a punch infinite where you attack them, and then occasionally while you're attacking them you hit up on the D-pad, and that resets your punch combo back to kind of the start. So you just, as long as you're hitting up before you finish your punch combo, then you'll set it back to the start, and you'll just keep doing that, looping them round, and hopefully if you're lucky that will keep going until they die. Don't think it goes that well here. Okay, so dash attack, they're in the corner now. Now you see I'm hitting up occasionally. While I'm trying to punch them, he's hitting back. And then once I get down to about there on the health bar, I want to try and do special attacks to finish him off, which goes well there. So what happens after the boss fight is this character comes onto screen. Now the thing with this character is that she will try to move to the position between the two of you, unless you're very close together. So you want to stay very close together, because then she'll only move to about there. So you save a bit of time in that. A sort of backup strat for this boss fight, if it gets out of hand and Kazuma starts running over to the left, what you can actually do is you can stand about here and do special attacks to kind of finish him off. Hopefully he's already low enough health. And what will then happen is she actually spawns at the door that you came through earlier. So she'll spawn right there, and she'll just happen to be like halfway between you and Kazuma in where she spawns. So she won't actually walk anywhere in that instance. And so there, although the fight's got out of hand and Kazuma's run over to the left and wastes a bit of time in that sense, you actually gain time back because of manipulating where she stands over to the left hand side. So that's a good backup strat if the fight gets out of hand. And at the end of every boss fight there's about 10 seconds of text mashing generally. Now this movement here is all kind of automated, so you don't have to do anything with the D-pad here. You just have to mash through the text boxes, and then you're on your way to the construction yard. Just dash through there, pick that up, wait for the girder to go, dash through it, and then it's 2 jumps, one small to get over that spiky type thing there, and then a bigger jump. And what I'm going to do at the end of the jump is end it with an attack, so I'm going to be doing a jumping attack. Now when you're in a jumping attack state, it seems that you're less vulnerable to getting hit, so that's generally a good thing. If you're sort of jumping into enemies, it can be good to do a jumping attack. I tend to avoid it because I tend to feel that it loses momentum doing a jumping attack rather than just a straight jump, so I don't do it all the time. But I think it is useful if you're in any doubt if you're going to be hitting an enemy or not. Okay, and see, we get through there. Now this lift, I want to go back a bit if I can. So let's have a look. So this lift that comes down, what can sometimes happen here? That's even quite a good frame to stop on to see the jankiness of it, but what can happen here is when you jump into lifts, sometimes you clip out of the bottom of it. I'm not entirely sure why that happens, so the best way I find to avoid that happening is when I'm jumping into the lift, once I've kind of got my horizontal positioning so that I'm inside the lift, I don't hit any buttons or anything on the D-pad. I just let everything rest and then let the character drop and fall into the lift, and hopefully that will stop the character from clipping out the bottom of the lift. And you'll also see that I'm hitting up on the D-pad once I'm inside the lift to get a look up on this conveyor belt, because this is the next point of interest. So what actually happens here is there's 2 conveyor belts. There's this right one and there's one to the left, and what happens is they're linked together. If this one moves left, then the other one moves right, and vice versa. If this one's moving right, the other one's moving left. We want to get to the leftmost conveyor belt just as it's moving left, and the way to do that is once you see this conveyor belt start moving right, then there's once you see this conveyor belt start moving left, then there's about an 8-second gap before it's going to start moving right, and once it starts moving right, this one will start moving left at the same time. So what you do is you stand here and you wait about 7 seconds from when this conveyor belt is moving left. From when this conveyor belt starts moving left, you wait 7 seconds and then you start moving across, and you should hit this conveyor belt probably a little bit after it starts moving left, just for safety, and then you'll be able to duck through the pipe that's there and carry on through. Yeah, so you'll see I'm waiting here. I'll probably go about 19, yeah, 19, and then you duck through. You can stand up just at the end to get a little boost. I wouldn't advise any more than what you saw there, because if you try and stand up like there or something, what will happen is you'll get pushed to the right side, all the way back to the right of the pipe. So if you're going to try and get a boost, stand up very far to the left of the pipe. The thing about these conveyor belts as well is that they seem to be set pretty much at the start of the game. So what I've found is that if I have a good split on the first stage, I have to wait a while on that conveyor belt to wait for the left conveyor belt to be moving left. But if I've got a bad split on the first stage, I tend to find that I just run straight through the conveyor belts because they're kind of lined up right. So in an odd way, it doesn't matter too much from what I've found, what I do on the first stage, because I'm either going to be waiting if I've done well, or I'm going to rush through if I've done poorly. And I'll generally be exiting this room at about 2:25 in any case, so it's a bit weird in that way. Right, and so just jump over that guy to avoid the hammer, and what I did there is that I just stood as close to the girder there as I could, and then waited for it to hit me, and then it will kind of damage boost you over to the right. Then it's just a case of running from there, do a running jump there. And this, I think, yeah, I do a bit of a mistake there. I jump into that girder. What I should have done is I should have jumped into that girder and faced right before I hit it. And then what would have happened is that I'd have got damage boost over to the left. I think you'll see me do that possibly. Now I use these spikes. You can also use these spikes. They tend to throw you to the left. But you'll see there, I use the damage boost there, and then I use the damage boost off the spike. Okay, so second boss fight coming up. This one's quite straightforward. It's just going to be dash attack him into the corner and then do punch infinites. I don't use any specials here because I like to save them for later. This boss fight can go quite badly because sometimes he'll retaliate and with kind of special shadow attacks. And sometimes when he does that, he'll get you in sort of a bit of a loop with his shadow attacks, which are unblockable, and if he keeps looping you like that, then you can't get out of it. So now it's back to the school, and what I'll be doing, I'll just be doing dash attacks through these enemies to kill them, to sort of try and level up. I'm not trying to avoid them, I'm trying to kill them. Sometimes what you'll see me do is you'll see me stop punching them instead. That's because I'll feel like my dash attack is going to take me into a vulnerable position. You see there, because there was an enemy behind, the dash attack would have been spaced poorly and I could have got hit back. So I just stood and punched for a little bit. I might do it here, yeah, I'll do it here as well. And there you see level up. Now I don't need any more levels, so I'm just going to try and jump and avoid them. Get to the roof. And here's Kazuma again. And he's going to join the party, but we're never going to use him in the speedrun. And then it's a case of going to the train station to pick up Kuruma. Not sure about these pronunciations. Okay, jumping over this guy doesn't go well, unfortunately, this time. Pick up that P. Then jumping over this witch. Those two jumps were fairly precise. You have to be a bit careful with them. They're more precise than they look, particularly the witch one, because she's got more of a hitbox to the front of her than you would anticipate. We don't use Kuruma either in this speedrun, so I won't have to say his name again. And now we're off to pick up Hiei, who we do use a lot. Hiei is extremely extremely useful from a speedrunning perspective. He's got the fastest dash, and his jump while dashing doesn't slow him down, unlike all of the other characters, so he's very fast. And also his special attack is extremely useful as well, as we'll see coming up soon. So switch across to him, then get in here, just do a small jump over that skeleton, kind of a medium jump more than anything, so that you're over the skeleton and under the chandelier. And then if you're doing that kind of just at a good speed, you'll be able to jump up here and avoid the pendulum, because it will be going to the left as you get there. And then back there, having real trouble with this. Back there, nope, further back, maybe not that far back. Yeah, so here you just want a small jump below the chandelier. Let's see if I can, where there. Right, so when you're jumping off of this section here, to avoid this chandelier that's going to be coming down, you just want a small jump to just go diagonally down. Anything too big and you'll bump into the chandelier. Then if you've made good pace up to here, you can just jump over that pendulum as it swings to the left, jump through and take the middle door. Now the problem with those 3 doors that we just saw there is that so the third door is never the right door to get to the boss, but the other 2 doors could be. So you're either going to be going through the middle door or the left door to get to the boss, and generally speaking the middle door will be the right one, but if it's not the right one, then you'll get pushed back to a bit earlier in the stage, as you'll see coming up, and that wastes about 10 to 15 seconds. So we get bad RNG here. We should have selected that door. Not entirely sure how the RNG works for these 2 doors, which one leads to the boss. I think it's timer based. I've tried some experimentation with like levels and health and special meter and how many enemies I've killed, but it doesn't seem like any of them have an impact on it. It's more the kind of internal clock of the Game Boy itself, or the Game Boy cartridge I think itself, that determines which one of these doors is the right one. So just sort of bear that in mind when you're going through here. Okay, let's keep going. So you'll have to hit that switch to get these platforms up. Then it's a case of doing the same jumps. Usually if you're quick enough you'll be able to make that jump again, but it's trickier this time, so yeah, I didn't manage to do it there. Okay, now this boss fight, this is where things get really interesting. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using special attacks here. And okay, so how special attacks work in the game is each character has its own special attack, which levels up as the game progresses and you gain levels. And at a certain point, at a certain level, the special attack changes significantly to like a cutscene special attack. For speedrunning purposes, the cutscene special attack is actually worse. It's better to have a lower level special attack, because the cutscene special attack kind of freezes everything on screen while it's going, but the basic special attack doesn't do that. The enemy can still move around, and what you find with the basic special attack is while it's overlapping with the enemy, you can mash the attack button and get extra hits that way. Seems weird, so let's see if we can. Yep, you saw it a bit there. And let's see if we can go back, show it in better detail. Guess it's going to be there, isn't it? Okay, and so here comes the special attack. tends to help on this boss if he moves forward a little bit. It tends to get the timing a bit better, I think. So there's the first hit. You can see I'm mashing on the B button here, so it takes a little bit of life. And then eventually it's going to take a chunk more, and then a chunk more. You can defeat this boss with one special attack, but wasn't able to here. So I had to finish him off by avoiding his special attack and then doing Punch Infinite on him. So we go back a little bit there. Okay, is that... Yeah, so his special attack is that he'll fire a vertical beam towards where you were when he started, kind of standing still and putting his hand out, showing he was going to do his special attack. What this beam will do, if it hits you, he'll kind of morph into the character that you're currently using, and that will waste a few seconds. And in particular with Hiei, if he transforms into Hiei, it becomes very dangerous. So you don't want that to happen. You want to be avoiding this vertical bar here, and you don't want to be touching him really while he's doing this, because the hitbox of the vertical bar seems to go quite some way back to like here or something. So if I was standing here, I'd get hit by the vertical bar and he'd start morphing. I wouldn't be able to attack him. Yeah, something else I should have mentioned earlier is that bosses tend to have periods of invincibility on certain attacks that they're doing, certain movements that they're doing. And this one in particular, when he's doing his special attack, you can't hurt him. So while he's in this stance and while this beam's going across the screen, you can't hurt him. So you've got to wait for him to finish doing what he's doing, and you'll see I like slowly edge into him so that I'm very close to him to do the Punch Infinite. So ideally you get his health down entirely with your special attack, but if you don't, you kind of try and get close to him to do the Punch Infinite and finish him off, avoiding his vertical beam. And there we go, he's down. Right, have a quick drink. Okay, and now it's time to go across to the first bonus stage. So this is where you can level up, mash through these text boxes, and then we get to a tile shuffle bonus stage. Okay, so what you've got here, you'll have seen that this square and this square are flashing, and you've got two numbers over here. So what you want to do is you want to get a 3 and a 5 into these two flashing squares. Doesn't matter which goes where, just matters that both of them are in a flashing square. So I think I'm going to try putting the 5 in the top left and then the 3 over here. Looks like I'm going to start off with the 3, so I'm going to be shuffling it all the way over there. I don't really have any hints for how to do these. These are RNG, so it's like you'll get different layouts and different numbers each time. So it's best to just practice tile shuffle, these tile shuffle bonus games. And what you're aiming for is to make sure that you have more than 20 seconds left on the timer. And then that will mean that all of your characters get a level up, which in itself isn't important because you're only going to be using 2 characters throughout the game, but it makes the level up screen quicker, because here you're not going to need to select which characters are getting the level ups. It's just going to automatically give 1 to each. So now it's going up here and talking to this person. Now here you'll talk to the blonde person once, then you'll turn back to this person, then you'll talk to the blonde person a second time, and once you've finished talking to the blonde person a second time, stop mashing, because otherwise this person is going to think you're talking to them some more, and they're going to try and I think they try and give you some arm wrestling practice, and then you have to go through some more text boxes to kind of refuse that. And I was able to avoid that here, so just walking down, And then it's walking up and to the next area. So all of that kind of talking there was in order to open up this second area here. We're going to face the next boss, Mulota. Pretty sure I've got that right, hopefully. Okay, I think this is a bar and there's a barman, so we talk to him a bit. And then it's off to Mulota. So this boss fight again, as normal with Hiei, I'm going to try a special attack. Hopefully it will drain all his life. If it doesn't, on this guy, he's pretty basic to be honest. He doesn't seem to have any really special attacks, but he is quite strong, quite damaging, and he can also block your attacks as well, which is quite annoying. Your normal attacks anyway. I don't think he blocks your special attacks. So if he has a bit of health left after the special attack, you can kind of try dash attacking him and get him into an infinite punch loop. But luckily this goes well. Yep, all his health goes down. Right, and next coming up is going to be the hospital. Now this is quite intense in terms of platforming. The first room goes badly. The mistake I made was doing too big a jump over that first blob, as I'll show in a minute. And it kind of messes everything else up. So, why do things get messed up? So, in the stages of this game, you'll only see 3 enemies spawned on screen at any one time, and if there's any more due to be spawned, they actually won't spawn. They'll kind of despawn. Well, they won't despawn, they just will never spawn. So that second mosquito that you saw on the couches up there, above the couches there, doesn't spawn if you do this level properly, because your momentum taking you through all of the enemies are in certain positions, and so that enemy will therefore never spawn because they'll be 3 in the right positions. Yeah, hopefully I've explained that right. So these kind of rooms within these stages actually tend to have a lot more enemies than you're aware of, because a lot of them just don't spawn because there's already 3 enemies on the screen. In particular in the hospital, if anything happens to you, if you get hit unintentionally in various areas, it really can knock off your timing for the rest of the room, because then you don't know what enemies are going to spawn, and generally they'll spawn in bad positions for you. So that first room went badly, so it's probably a good idea to try and show a better example of that room, which hopefully we've got here. Okay, so let's go back, and yep, we've got the cursor on there, so that's good. Right, so let's do frame advancing firstly, or maybe not. Okay, so it's going way too fast for me. It's not helpful. Yeah, okay. Alright, let's go back to the start. Just having problems with my video player. So you want to do a short hop over that blob there, and then a bigger hop over the first skeleton, a big hop over the second skeleton onto the couches here. Then you'll pick up a crystal here, which will give you a little bit of invincibility. But keep running just after you pick up the crystal, then jump from the edge of the sofa, and hopefully, if you do it right, you'll maintain invincibility through the mosquito that's there, and then onto the second sofa and through to the exit. Yep, and then there, so let's see that from the start again. So, small jump here, big jump here onto the couch, pick up the crystal, jump through the mosquito, and then that's how it's meant to go. So we don't need that one anymore. everything disappears, and we have got back this. Okay, so onto the second room. Do a jump attack. Try and jump attack those mosquitoes. It doesn't generally work. You generally get knocked back, but it's worth a try, because getting through those two mosquitoes and that blob, there's no easy way to do it. That's probably the hardest jump in the game. Getting knocked back doesn't knock you off the path too much, but if you can get through it, it's a good time save. And so then you want to get to the edge of the sofa here, and you want to do pretty much a big jump over this mosquito, over a skeleton that's just coming up here. I don't think I managed to get it here. Now what I could have done is I could have done an attack here, which then would have given me some kind of invincibility in order to land behind the skeleton. I think that would have worked, but unfortunately I just land into the back of him, and so I get hit. But it doesn't mess up too much the rest of what's going on. So let's take a look at what happens after that. Okay, and so there's another skeleton here. Just jump over him, not a massive jump. Just jump onto these sofas here. And then off the second sofa, you're going to be wanting to jump, do a kind of a rather precise jump. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to get just over this skeleton, but you're going to want to get to the right of this cart, so you're going to want to get just there, so that you're there running under the cart, because you can land on the cart, but then you'll get hit by mosquitoes above the cart, so you want to land there so that you're running under the cart. Okay, here it's a big jump over that skeleton, then a small jump over the blob, and then again a jump off of here. You want to do a jump attack into this mosquito over these two skeletons, and that's it, onto the boss. Okay, so this boss is Doctor, and he's going to start. He's got two phases, unfortunately. In his first phase he'll dash from the right to the left of the screen, then he'll go from the left to the right. While he's dashing, he's invincible, so you can't hit him. So you've got to wait for him to get to either side of the screen. And ideally you want to kill this phase with one special attack. If you don't, then you're just going to have to chase him from left to right and kind of try and get some hits in. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem that you can punch infinite him. You can only ever get like a dash attack and then a couple of punches in after he's got to one of the sides of the screen. So it can be a pretty big time loss if you don't manage to kill his first phase with a special attack. So what I tend to do is I tend to get to here standing left, and I want just a little bit of a gap between that pole there and the sprite, and then that'll be the right positioning. And then once the Doctor kind of passes through me, dashes across me, at that point that he goes just past me, I'll start mashing special attack, and that will hopefully give me the right timing to get the special attack to hit him and drain all his health. I think it comes out just about the right time, gets all of his health out. I'm a bit further left. That's probably the furthest left that I would want to be here. And then when you go into this second phase, all you can do is just mash here and hope, mash your special attack and hope. Hopefully it comes out and hits him in the right way, and then you're hitting the punches in the right way. As you can tell, that's all a bit janky. It is, I believe it's a glitch. I don't think it's intended functionality that the special attack hits multiple times. So you're relying on the glitchiness kind of working in the right way. Luckily here it does. If you don't kill him with a special attack, then he'll kind of start jumping and dashing and doing all crazy stuff fast all over the screen. So he'll be quite hard to get down after that. I think he does kind of he is more susceptible to punch infinites in the second phase, but he's just moving so fast that it's hard to get him locked down. So this is probably one of the biggest kind of time-sensitive portions of the run, is getting a good doctor fight. A bad doctor fight, as you see, will cost you at least 20 seconds. Well, about 20 seconds, I guess, there. Okay, so there's going to be a bit of a long cutscene here. The blonde person comes back up, and so it's just text mashing. And it's going to be walking through to the bottom right of the screen to start facing Seaman and go to the second bonus stage. So we want to line up with this puddle here. If you mash A and B while walking into that puddle, you'll avoid a dialogue box with Seaman. And then just run through this first bit. Nothing really happens. There's some water elementals, but you just run right past them. Then it's time to walk up here and hope this little girl doesn't get in your way too much. Now, this little girl NPC here, I assume it's a little girl, she can possibly be in front of the door here, where you want to go into the bonus stage, which is really annoying. I think talking to her tends to get her to move a bit, but ideally you don't want to have to talk to her in a speed run. So yeah, you just got to hope that she's not standing there. I've even seen her like moving up and down quickly in that area, so it's quite annoying. But she behaves a bit there, and then it's just tile shuffle game again, so I'll skip through this a bit. What do we got? We got skip forward 1 minute. Now let's... Oh, not like that. Goodness, that's the end of the game. Okay, so that's the tile shuffle. So if we go like this... Yep, and so we're back down here again, where we were before we forked off up to the bonus stage. And again, mash while walking into that puddle. Now here I make a bit of a mistake, which is interesting, because when I was speedrunning this game, I never wanted to fight this boss with Hiei. I wanted to fight this boss with Yusuke, because Yusuke will be higher level at this point, have more health and more special meter. Hiei's special attack doesn't do too well against this boss, and you'll see it used once. It gets a couple of hits in, but the multi-hit attribute that is on Hiei's special attack doesn't work too well. Worth noting at this point that Hiei's special attack is far more susceptible to hitting multiple times than any of the other special attacks in the game. That's why I'm using Hiei on these bosses. So there's two approaches to this boss, and I take both of them here with different degrees of success. So this boss, what he's going to do is he's going to summon some water elementals. He himself doesn't do anything, but he will duck down while he's summoning these water elementals, and while he's ducked down he's invincible, so you can't attack him while he's summoning. And he'll usually summon two small ones. He'll try and summon them near you so that they'll be hitting you. And there's also a big stationary one here which will just hit to the left, but because of its positioning, if you try and get close to him, it kind of blocks you from doing that. It doesn't literally block you, but if you try and stand here while this elemental is in place, it will hurt you, and you'll basically get probably knocked back a bit, and you won't be able to attack Seaman over here. There's two approaches. You can either start the fight, try a dash attack, which hopefully will kill the first spawn of this elemental that spawns here, and then hopefully you'll be able to get up to Seaman and then face left and do a punch infinite on him. And if you're doing that while facing left, you'll be hitting this water elemental and stopping it from spawning. The second approach is to get up here. The problem with the first approach is that he's still going to be spawning these two smaller water elementals, and they might interfere with you over here. sometimes with your positioning you'll be able to kind of position yourself so that you're hitting them all, but that's not always the case. So a second approach is to kind of jump up on here and lure the two smaller elementals up here, and then jump down over here to get to Seaman that way. And the good thing about this is that sometimes what will happen is the two water elementals, the two smaller ones, will keep spawning up here even after you've left that area. So you'll then be free to attack Seaman over here. So you'll see I first do a dashing attack. It starts off well, but I don't quite get the good positioning there, and so the smaller elementals hit me, and so I can't get back in there. So I'm trying to get back in there now, and it's going well for now. But you see, a small elemental gets in behind me, kind of knocks my rhythm off. I'm now not in the right position to be facing left. You've got to be quite far over to the right. You'll see there I do try a special attack, which is quite effective. But this is the setup you really want. Both water elementals up here, and you standing down here facing left, hitting Seaman and hitting the big water elemental there as well. And then after the boss fight, Seaman will restore your health. He actually does it twice here, so you want to be careful when you're mashing through the text boxes, because if you're mashing at the end of the last text box, he'll heal you again. So you want to kind of walk away after he's actually healed you. And then this is a long cutscene here. I'm going to go ahead and skip. Oh, not quite that far. So there's a long cutscene there with a lot of text boxes, and basically you'll end up outside your house, and you want to go right to chase down Sniper and get into the next boss fight. So this is a car boss fight, and because we've got Yusuke at level 5, this is going to take 21 hits to kill. So you're going to want to be attacking the car here at the front, and Sniper is going to throw out attacks which will consist of spawning 3 arrows, and they'll come towards you in one of 4 possible patterns. They can either go slowly, well they'll be going the same speed, but he'll release them slowly. So for example, the bottom one might go, then once the bottom one's reached the far end of the screen, the middle one will go, then the top one will go. Or he'll release them quickly. So the bottom one will go, and then the middle one will go once the bottom one's kind of maybe a third or a half of the way across the screen, and the top one will go when the middle one's half or a third of the way across the screen. So so it will vary in terms of the release speed, and also it will vary in terms of which one gets released first. Either the bottom one will get released first, then the middle, then the top, or the top one will get released first, then the middle, then the bottom. So, and what Sniper will do is he'll lift his arm up slowly before he does that attack, so you'll get a bit of a warning. You can actually cancel him out of that attack as you see him raising his arm. If you manage to hit the car while he's raising his arm, that will then cancel his attack, but you might not be close enough to attack him. And if you're not, I tend to like to drift back to about mid-screen, so that I've got enough time to kind of react to whatever happens with the arrows there. Yeah, and it depends on what happens with the arrows. Once I understand what's going on, I'll jump over the bottom arrow and try and attack him, or I'll move forward. If the top one's going first, I'll try and move forward and then jump over the bottom arrow. So just depending on what happens with the arrows, I'll try and avoid them and then get into attacking range again. So with attacks, I want to be doing short hops here, short hop attacks, because that will minimise the amount that you get pushback from your attacks. If you just do grounded attacks, then you'll get more pushback. I do sometimes do grounded attacks when I see his arm come up, because I don't think I've got enough time to get a jumping attack in, so I do a grounded attack instead. So yeah, you see there I tried to do a grounded attack but wasn't close enough. In that particular variation, you see I jumped over the arrow, the last arrow, to get another hit in. It's good to count the number of hits so that you know when you've got one last hit to go, and then you can just kind of do a grounded attack to finish him off. Getting a lot of slow arrows here. Generally you want him to attack as little as possible, so what you tend to try and do is you try and run forwards quite far and then do the jumping attack, and then hopefully it won't push you far back, so that if he then tries to attack immediately afterwards, you can do a grounded attack on him. So after the car boss, switch back to Hiei, and it's going to be fighting Sniper for real. And it's just a case of doing your special attack and mashing through it. He will spawn shots around him, and while he's spawning those shots, as you saw there, he's invincible, so the special attack won't hit him. So you've got 3 special attacks stored at this point, and hopefully that'll be enough to put him down. If it's not, then you'll have to chase him down and go for the infinite punch tactic, which is tricky with Sniper because he'll tend to jump around quite a bit, so you can try and sort of anticipate where he's going to land with his jumps and then be there in order to hit him with the punch infinite, but it's not the situation what you want to get into really. Okay, and if you talk to Seaman here again, you'll get your health and special meter refilled. I'll have a quick drink. Then it's on to the cave section. Okay, so the rooms in the cave section, some of them repeat, so you'll see some of these rooms multiple times, sometimes even from different directions, like going right to left rather than left to right. Want to use Hiei throughout. This first room with these fountains, you can try and jump attack through these fountains, but it's precise enough that I never go for it. These fountains count as enemies for the free enemy on a screen limit, so you'll see that sometimes these fountains won't spawn from these little nodules here, and that's why. And we've got good old Skullface here. You'll see that I jumped into Skullface facing left so that he knocked me to the right, so when you're in the air and you get hit, you'll get knocked back opposite to the direction that you're facing, generally speaking. And I'll try and dash attack through this golem here. Well, looks like I just try and attack, but it doesn't go well. Ideally you try and dash attack and it goes better than that. And then it's just dash jump, dash attack through these golems. Again, doesn't go well. Not a well executed room, to be honest. And then you've got an arm wrestling bonus stage here. So this one just comes down to mashing B as much as you can. I'm sure you've got your own mashing technique, I won't go into that. You do have to mash pretty fast to get this bar fully filled, so you might want to bear that in mind because you might have some hand and arm fatigue from the rest of the run. So have kind of a low stress mashing technique there in mind for completing that bonus stage. And of course, if you complete it fast enough, then you'll get the 4 level ups that you want. Now at this point, Hiei is at level 5. We do not want Hiei to gain any more levels, because from level 6 onwards, he'll attain the cutscene special attack, which isn't multi-hitting. So we want him to stay at level 5 so that he's got his multi-hit special attack. So on this screen, it's just dash through, avoid that skull, jump over that lion, jump over this line as well, and we've got a few narrow platforms coming up that you want to kind of jump over in turn, I think it is full jumps between them. Have a practice at it, but I think for the first one you want to be kind of on the right jump so that you land on the right hand side of it, and then it's full jumps for all of the jumps after that. 1, 2, 3. Then you'll see I do a jump attack there to get through the line. Okay, so on the next screen you'll see that we've got a skull immediately to the right of us. So you could try and dash attack through this skull. I generally don't try dashing, I just do a dash jump attack through that skull. Generally I'll just try a normal jumping attack through this skull because it's just tends to work more often, tends to have less chance of failure. And let's see what the next keyframe is. Wow, it's miles away. Okay, so here you want to jump right there, right between that bat and that thing that we saw there, the axe throwing golem. It's quite a precise jump here. So do this jump first, and then you want a very precise jump through there to get through, to get kind of between that golem and that bat. If you don't manage it, then you'll get knocked back by the golem usually, and then you'll just have to do it again. The bat will move a bit to the right, so you have to do a jumping attack to get through it and over the golem. Here, what I like to do is I like to do a jumping attack through this skull, and usually when you land it will actually start hitting you, and I'll let it hit me because what will then happen is it will then knock me to the right, and I'll be able to use the invincibility frames to get past the second skull here. Then it's a case of jumping up on this platform and then very quickly jumping again to avoid that golem, and then jumping over the second golem. Yes, this bit, okay. So you'll see I'll be using knockback here with these skulls. Jump face right, knocked back to the left. I don't know what goes wrong here. I think I don't jump quick enough off that platform, and I get hit by the skull, but eventually manage to correct and pick up that that dummy up there that restores the health and special meter. Now this next room that's coming up is actually the fountain room again, but it's going from right to left. Now what we'll be doing here is abusing some of this free enemy limit. So you see we've got 2 golems here. You'll have seen that there's a water fountain coming up, and there's potential for there to be a skull face coming up as well. A spiked skull. I think I've called it spiked skull before. And you really don't want that spiked skull to spawn, so you want these 3 enemies to be on the screen. This golem, and the fountain. So you might need to slow down a little bit to make sure that this right golem here doesn't get pushed off the edge of the screen. Yep, so you see I'm waiting for him so that the spiked skull despawns. Getting down here is tricky. I almost always get hit. Generally just fall down into there, let him hit you. And now again I'm waiting a bit there for him to move to the left, because there's another skull that spawns about there, so you want that golem to move enough to the left that you don't despawn him off the right of the screen. Okay, what have we got coming up? Oh yeah, this guy. So jump attack through there, then he'll throw an axe at you again. Try and duck the axe. Then you want to get down to here. And there you go for a jump attack. Might not work. If it doesn't, then just jump face right as you're falling into this skull, and you'll get hit to the left. And then there's a jump coming up here onto a platform near a spiked skull again. This spiked skull has the opportunity to knock you down to the bottom of the screen, which will be very bad if it happens. Unfortunately I couldn't find any hard and fast rule to avoiding it, So it's just kind of jump and hope, really. If you get knocked down to the bottom, it's best to try and lure the spike skull to the bottom right, left, so that you can then jump back up using the small platforms that you've got. But it's a fairly big time loss. You can see the small platforms there. And then it's on to the 4th bonus stage. This bonus stage, okay, so right. This is a game that consists of 3 rounds, and each round consists of 2 phases. The first phase is a rock, paper, scissors game, which you can see here, and your 3 options are selected by either D-pad left, D-pad up, D-pad right. I think it's D-pad right that selects paper for you, and that's what I tend to go for. Now, this first phase of the round has no impact on the scoring of the round, but it impacts what you need to do on the second phase of the round. So if you win the rock, paper, scissors, you need to hit B in order to hammer the enemy, and the enemy will be wanting to hit A in order to avoid your attack. If you lose the rock, paper, scissors phase, then you want to hit A in order to avoid your enemy's attack. Hopefully that makes sense. It's very odd. And also in this bonus stage, I've said Hiei is at level 5. We don't want him to get any more levels, so we don't want to win all 3 rounds, because winning all 3 rounds will give you 4 level ups automatically. There's nothing you'll be able to do about it, and you'll be screwed. I tend to go for 2 level ups, which means just winning 1 round, and then I can just give a level up to Yusuke and one of the other characters. So we'll see how this goes. Oh no, I lost the first round, what a shame. Hey, I won the second round, that's good. Now I do nothing, and I let the enemy do what they want. Now the AI can sometimes be a bit finicky here. If the AI does the wrong thing, and you do the wrong thing, or you do nothing, then the round is considered to be drawn, and the round is replayed. So if the AI makes the wrong decision over and over again while you're trying to lose a round, it's going to be a time waste. So it's a bit tricky like that. Yeah, so I could have actually tried to win that 3rd round. That might have been the better option there, considering I've already lost a round, so I've got no risk of winning all 3 rounds. Yeah, but it's tricky. And so we're going to be coming up on the Gourmet Boss fight here, which is again a 2-phase boss fight. It's quite a straightforward one, it's just a case of using special attacks. So you're going to have, I think you've got 3 special attacks here in your special meter. So what I tend to do is I'll use 1 on the first phase, and if his health bar gets really low, then I'll do punch infinites to finish him off, and then I'll use 2 special attacks for the second phase. But if his health bar's not very low in the first phase after the first special attack, say it's like there, which I think is what happens here, then I'll use the second special attack on the first phase, and I'll hope to kill the second phase with just 1 special attack. And of course, if it doesn't work out, you have to go into like the infinite punches. So generally I try and jump attack him and then get him caught in the infinite punch loop. Yeah, so actually he has a fair chunk of life remaining, so I use this second special attack on him. And then here we go into the second phase, and luckily in this one I managed to finish him off with just 1 special attack. Okay, then here we go. These screens, you'll have seen them before. I missed the jump that time, and you can see it kind of gets a little bit chaotic there. Got a health pickup you can pick up there. And these jumps go well, so that's good. Yes, this bit again, jump over the line. Jump over the line again. Do I get these jumps? Yep, those jumps are really good to get. That's a good time save, feels good when you get them. I think coming up here it's another fountain room from left to right. Yep. And then at the end of this we've got some new rooms to go over. I try that dash jump attack, doesn't work. That one's quite tricky, tend to get stuck there. But this bit goes a bit better, I avoid those two golems. Okay, so we're coming into a new room here. So what I do, I just start off dash falling. When you fall, quite often you'll lose your dashing momentum. It seems a little bit luck based whether you'll lose it or not. Sometimes jumping rather than falling is the better way to go. So I'll just dash through. I'll take the hits here. You could try jump attacking there. I'll fall intentionally into this pit and then jump out of it. Then I'll do a full jump over that block, jump attack through that spiked skull, and hopefully if it hits you, it will only hit you just off to the right and you'll just be able to carry on going. And then we're into this area. I tend to take this area slowly because at the bottom of this area there's water which is very slow to move through, so you don't want to fall down off the platforms. So I tend to take this bit carefully. Then coming up here you'll see a spiked skull. Now what I tend to do here is I tend to hesitate here a bit, because what happens is you want to be attacking this spiked skull when it's about here, so when it's kind of the left of it's lined up with the right of this platform, and then you'll do a full combo on it to throw it down to the right here. And if you've waited a little bit, what will happen is it will fall in a hole here between two platforms. If you don't wait before attacking, it will fall into one of the platforms and it will remain in your way. So you want to just wait a little bit, and then you keep going. Then you dash, do a jump attack over that line, that goes well. And then this screen is a familiar one again. Pick up a health there. Don't get that jump, get it the second time, so not too bad. And there'll be a dummy at the start of this platform, so you can use the invincibility to get through the axe golem, but you do still need to jump over the second golem, which I fail there. Okay, so it's the final boss, Sensui. He's got two phases, one after the other. For the first phase, I like to use Yusuke. I like to have him at level 7 here. Level 7 Yusuke's special attack is quite good. Has some multi-hit properties. It has a little bit of a tail behind it, which makes it quite good for multi-hitting. So I do want to be at level 7 here. I've tried it out with level 6 and it doesn't tend to go well. But it's possible that maybe that's a different strategy that could be tried for this speedrun to save some time, save some levelling up. So on this particular run, what I found was okay. I'm looking at my timer, I'm looking at the PB timer, and I know I've really got to rush through these bosses. So all I do for these two final bosses is I just mash special attacks. So that's pretty much what you'll see here. So just mashing special attack to try and get the first phase as much as I can, health down, and then go for infinite punches. Good way is actually getting knocked down and then being close to him. Like here, I think is what happens, yep, and then I stand up and I'm right on him for the infinite punches. If you're not close to him, then try a jumping attack to approach. Unfortunately, I can't select a second character for the second phase until my first character's killed. So I'll want the enemy to kill me. I want Sensui to kill me here. So I'll just run up to him. He tends to annoyingly run away a bit. And then I'm selecting Hiei. Right off the bat, I'll be mashing these special attacks. And just hoping they hit him through whatever invincibility he has. And it goes well. Those final 2 boss fights there went exceptionally well. And that's essentially what allowed me to PB. So that's sort of a good idea to follow, to unfortunately mash the special attacks and basically hope. But if you want a bit more information on what those bosses tend to be like in terms of attacks and stuff, and then we can go over that here. So let's get this back. So this is the first phase of Sensui. So he's got I think about 4 different attacks. One of them is this fireball attack, where he'll throw 3 fireballs at you, starting high, medium, low. That's how they'll come out. The high one will just miss you. You can just walk under it or whatever. And then if you jump over the middle and the lower ones, then you'll manage to avoid the full attack that way. He's also got a jump kick, very fast. He'll move very quickly horizontally with his jump kick. He's also got a standing kick where he just stands in place and kicks the air. And he's also got kind of an unblockable attack. It's hard to tell when he's going to use it, but usually he'll be very close to you and he'll just stand still. And then he'll just start attacking you and you'll be able to do nothing about it, hence unblockable. So you want to avoid him in those situations if you can. Now with the fireball attack, before the fireballs start approaching you, he's generally vulnerable then, but when he starts firing the fireballs, he's got invincibility from then on. With the jump kicks, he doesn't have much invincibility at all, it doesn't seem. So he's fair game to special attacks then. When he's doing his standing kick, he's invincible there, so you don't want to be trying to special attack him when he's doing that. And then when he's kind of standing still, I don't know if he's invincible or not, but there's not really much you can do about it, because he'll only do that when he's very close to you. So you want to kind of just get out of his way, basically, and then attack him afterwards. So we go through this. I think the fireballs come out 3 times and you'll see me dodging them. You'll see how to dodge them. And then he'll do a jump kick twice. Yep, just like that, and like that. Then he'll do a standing kick a bit there, you saw. Then I think finally, see him freezing there, just standing there. That was him setting up for his unblockable. Sometimes you'll land next to him and you'll be able to try to get infinite punches in on him. Your mileage may vary because he'll eventually try and kick you out of it or something. So on to the second phase. God, now this phase. Okay, so when he moves across the screen, he'll tend to kind of float, just have a slow drifting motion. And then you'll also see he'll sometimes do like a faster dashing uppercut attack. I think his dashing uppercut is fairly invincible. But while he's drifting around, he's vulnerable. So while he's drifting around, you want to get your special attack hitting him. So one conservative approach is just to keep running away from him till he starts drifting after you, and then try your special attacks on him then. He's got fast punches as well. When he's close to you, he'll generally try and do these very fast punches. And if you get hit by them, they can multi-hit, so they can do a lot of damage very quickly. He's got 2 special attacks, so he'll raise his hand when he's about to do a special attack. Unfortunately, at first you can't tell which is which until a massive fireball appears. So what will happen is either he'll raise his hand and a whirlwind will come towards you, or he'll raise his hand and a fireball will start spawning, and then eventually he'll release it and it will come towards you. The whirlwind is really hard to avoid. I've never found any consistent way to avoid it. I just tend to duck and hope I avoid it. With the fireball, you can stand as far away from it as possible and then try and jump over it at the last minute. That tends to work, but even that's quite tricky. Yeah, he's got quite a bit of invincibility while he's waiting to start his special attack. I think with the whirlwind, actually, when the whirlwind comes out is when his invincibility starts. If you hit him before the whirlwind comes out, you'll be alright. With the fireball as well, if you hit him before the fireball's released, then you'll be alright. I think he's also got a bit of invincibility when he kind of first puts his hand up to start the special attack, but then it wears off before the special attack actually comes out. So there is a certain timing where he's vulnerable, where you can try and hit him with your special attack. So let's have a look. I think he does a fireball to start off with here. Yep, and you'll see me dodge it. There's his dash attack. There's his multi-fast punches. There's another fireball. I dodge that one. Fast attack again. Here comes the whirlwind. Can't avoid it. You can try infinite punches on him, and it sort of works, but not as well as the first phase. Generally, he'll do the fast punches eventually and hit you. And I think I actually die there, yeah. So generally, the way to beat the second phase of Sensui is just with special attacks. It's really desperate times if you're going to try the infinite punch strat against him. So, that's the end of the guide. Hope you found that useful. A few sources that I'd like to thank. I've already mentioned the Taz by Jalen2. I put a link in the YouTube description to the Taz, and also some notes on the Taz that Jalen2 made, which were very useful. I'll also put a link to the speedrun.com leaderboard and a game FAQ guide that was done by, I think it was done by Team Dark, I think that was his name. Some useful information in there. And finally, thanks to Mullah, who put me onto this game as having potential for speedrunning. So, yep, that's the end of the guide. Improvements on the speedrun. Saw quite a bit of execution that I got wrong there, so just tidying that up. My sum of best is about a minute quicker than this, so in theory you could go certainly under 22 minutes. I think even with perfect execution and RNG, possibly even under 20 minutes, even using the route that I've used. There's potential for skipping bonus stages. I haven't done it because I want to get to the final boss fights with Yusuke at level 7. But if you can find a good way to do the final boss fights with Yusuke as level 6, then possibly one of the bonus stages could be skipped earlier on. Also, the Taz does the whole game with Hiei. As soon as you pick up Hiei, it just uses Hiei from then on. The tricky thing about that is the final two boss fights, because they're both very reliant on using special attacks. You've only got so much meter on Hiei, so much special meter. So it would be very hard, I think, to follow the Taz strat there for the final boss. Could possibly you'd have 4 special attacks with Hiei, so you could potentially use 1 on phase 1, and then try infinite punch strats to finish him off. Then in phase 2, use the remaining 3 special attacks that you've got, and hope that's good enough. Yeah, so if you're feeling kind of brave and you want a sort of risky approach to the routing, that's an approach you could take. But yeah, thanks for watching and listening, and if you do go on to speedrun this game, then good luck.